Before we begin, I want to send our prayers to the people of Florida getting hit just about now. In a little while, you're going to see a hurricane like we haven't seen in a long time, as well as all of the people still recovering from Hurricane Helene. So we have North Carolina has been hit very hard, and this administration has not done a proper job at all. Terrible, terrible. Nobody's seen anything like it. But we just pray for everybody. We want them all to be good, and we're going to be there hopefully soon, and we're going to help them rebuild and get it all back together. And we hope that God will keep them safe. God will keep them safe. Yesterday, it was reported that Kamala Harris brought in a totally unvetted refugee from Afghanistan who has now been arrested for plotting an ISIS terror attack on the United States during our election. This is the people we brought in. We've got thousands of them. This is one. Kamala completely abandoned her duty to law-abiding Americans and spent the last 4 years importing criminals, unvetted refugees, and terrorists into our country. As we speak, she has, and this was just announced last week, 13,099, so over 13,000 illegal, alien, convicted murderers roaming free in our country, murderers that they're released from penitentiaries, prisons, and jails. You got 13,000 plus murderers in our country that were released from jails from all over the world. They come from the Congo. They come from all over the world, not just South America. They do come from South America. So Kamala just said that she can't think of one thing she'd do differently than crooked Joe Biden, right? So how about, I'll read off a little list to you. How about the following? She wouldn't do one thing. Remember that. What about the nation-wrecking border invasion, 21 million people? 21 million people plus came into our nation, and among them are murderers, drug dealers, people from mental institutions, human traffickers, mostly in women. How about that? She wouldn't do that differently? She went from the best border in the world to the worst border in the world. She went from, we had a border that was the best in U.S. history, and now we have the worst border anywhere in the world at any time. There's never been a border like this. What she's done and what he's done, what they have done to this country, the worst inflation in the history, costing a typical family almost $30,000. The inflation, she wouldn't do that over again either. Maybe the worst of all, and something that a lot of people don't hear about because look at all the fake news. That's a lot of fake news. I think this is the worst of all in a sense, and you'd almost say, how could it be worse? She lost 325,000 migrant children. Their parents are looking for them. Think of you with their parents. Think of you with their parents. 325, due to incompetence, due to the fact that she had the worst border, due to the fact that she let our great people not run the border. She got rid of all the things that we were doing. We had the safest border. We went from the safest to the worst. Those children are now dead, in slavery, or just plain missing. Probably most of them will never be found again. Think of that. 325,000 because of their incompetence. They're missing. Probably many of them are dead. Number 4, migrant flights, flying illegal migrants into our cities. Remember when she said, no, we want to, about a month ago, she realized this was not playing well for her in the polls. So they came up with a phony little idea that they'll do something. The only thing they didn't do, though, they didn't stop the flights that were pouring in with thousands and thousands, and actually over the course of a couple of years, hundreds of thousands of people flying over our borders. They didn't stop that. So they came from places all over the world into your cities and small towns, changing them forever. And I have to say, ruining them, ruining your cities and towns. including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, people from mental institutions and insane asylums, human traffickers and women. How about number 5, the Afghanistan catastrophe, the most embarrassing event in the history of our country? She wouldn't do that again. You have to understand. She said, no, I'd leave it the way it is. We're just going over just a small list. That was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Probably Putin went into Ukraine because of it. He looked and he saw the gross incompetence of this president that can't speak. The October 7th attack on Israel would never have happened, but she said that was fine too because she didn't want to change. She actually said she didn't want to change anything. She'd leave it the way it is. So I said, let's make a list of just some of the bad things. This is just a small list. October 7th, where you take a look at what happened. She doesn't want to change that. The slaughter of a lot of people. The Ukraine disaster, millions of dead people because of the weakness of this administration. Putin never would have gone into Ukraine if I were president. It would never, ever have happened. How about the natural gas export ban that is crushing Pennsylvania right now? Most of you don't even know about that. You know, you hear fracking and all, but if she ever won this thing, you wouldn't be fracking for 24 hours. But how about that? And it's crushing Pennsylvania, hurting you. It's going on. It's on right now. How about this? Pushing transgender ideology on minor children. How about that one? Your child goes to school and they take your child. It was a he and comes back a she. And they do this. And they do it. And often without parental consent. Can you even believe we're saying this? How about men playing in women's sports? How about that? She wouldn't say. How about the insane electric vehicle mandate where everybody's got to have an electric car almost immediately? Here are some facts. Kamala Harris is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders. Actually, rated even worse than Pocahontas. Has anyone heard of Pocahontas? She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week is not worthy of being president of the United States. She was one of the originals. Defund the police. We wanted to fund the police. You saw when she went up to Minnesota and she was bailing people out that wanted to burn down everything. Remember? They said, oh, it's a friendly protest. This poor idiot from CNN used to, remember? He said, this is a friendly... Then he got hit in the leg with like a rock or something, a hand grenade. He went down. Remember? He went down. He went down! This is a friendly protest. Oh, this is very friendly. And behind him, the entire city of Minneapolis was burning. It looked like the Second World War. No, it was friendly. It's a terrible thing, but she wanted to bail out all those people that did that and cause death. She got a lot of them out. Kamala Harris vowed to abolish ICE. She wants mass amnesty for all illegals. She wants mass amnesty for people that have literally looked to destroy our country. It's all will go to one thing. It's going to bankrupt your Medicare, bankrupt your Social Security. And we mention again, 325,000 migrant children dead or in slavery right now and just plain missing. She was the Attorney General of the state of California. She redefined child sex trafficking. These are words or phrases: assault with a deadly weapon and rape of an unconscious person. She said, from now on, they will be called nonviolent crimes and reduced sentences accordingly. She pledged to confiscate your guns. She's going to take away your guns. I didn't let anybody touch that. Not an easy issue. I didn't let it. Does anybody in the room, please raise your hand, have a gun? That's a tough job. No, she wants to confiscate your guns and endorse a total ban of handgun ownership. What do you do when a bad guy comes into your house? What do you do? The bad guy walks in, and he's got whichever gun you have. If you don't have a gun, you're in big trouble, right? I mean, you need to have. That's what they have the Second Amendment for. You know, the city with the strongest gun legislation. You can't have a gun. You can't get near it. You go to jail forever. Is a place called Chicago, and that's got the worst problem, right? That's got the worst problem. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention. All paid for by the taxpayer. In other words, if you're being detained and you want a sex change, you can get, by the way, aside from the obvious, not such a great idea, it's a very, very expensive operation. And perhaps most revealing of all, she lied all about so many different things, but she lied about that little thing called McDonald's. She never worked there. And yesterday, Tampon Tim said, you know why they call him that? Because they sell tampons with special legislation in boys' locker rooms. Can you believe it? He says he's a freak. I'm not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say that. By the way, can you imagine if this guy happened along, right? Can you even believe this? And yesterday, Tampon Tim said they want to abolish the Electoral College, taking away all electoral power basically from the voters of places like Pennsylvania. Tim and Comrade Kamala are really a true threat. They are a true threat to democracy. I'm not a threat to democracy. I'm the one that's going to save democracy. I'm the one that's going to save it. I'm going to save democracy. They are a threat to democracy, and they really are, too. That's where we are. We're going to get these people out. We're going to deport them so rapidly. We're going to get the criminals, the murderers. And essentially, I will liberate Pennsylvania and our entire nation from this mass migrant invasion of murderers and child predators and gang members, terrorists, drug dealers and thugs. What they have done to our country is unbelievable. You know, we get up and we talk. And I noticed something. Somebody was telling me the other day, we do a lot of these beautiful rallies, and it's so great. We never have an empty seat. Never have. Look at it, 100,000 people in Butler, more. Never have an empty. But they said, you know, as you go on, you get angrier and angrier. It's true. Because I read this stuff with all of these people being allowed in to destroy our country. And by the end of my speech, I'm actually a little bit angrier. In some cases, a lot angrier. Because they're destroying our country. We will not allow these people to invade us or to conquer us. Do you see what they're doing in Colorado? They're taking over apartment buildings. They're taking over real estate. They become real estate developers from Venezuela. They have equipment that our military doesn't have. Where the hell did they get that equipment? And the governor of Colorado, who's a weak Democrat, radical left, he's beside himself. He said, oh, what do I do? What do I do? You get him the hell out of there. That's what you do. The Democrats brought him in. And you know what? Little cities and towns all over the country are being invaded. But the ones that aren't, they're just as scared because they know it's going to happen. Because we have hundreds of thousands of these people. And there's so many of them are criminal. And you know what? If I were the head of, I want to name countries, but they're all friends of mine in one way or the other. I know most of them, almost all of them. But you know, if I were doing that, I would have done it even faster than them. In Venezuela and many countries, they're emptying their prisons into our country. I would have had, because Venezuela has only gone about 50%. I would have had it down to 100%. Why wouldn't I? Do you know the money they save and the turmoil they save? When they take the criminal gangs from Caracas off the streets and they bust them into the United States and drop them. And do you think anything's going to happen that's going to be good with those people? No, it's not good. It's not good. This is not the American dream. I will save your communities. I will send home all of those who do not belong in our country, and I will keep radical Islamic terrorists out of our country.